Episode 17 of Sir Ulrich Host Money Matters, and I have the privilege of bringing on one of my very best friends. He is popular in the Bitcoin Twitter realm. He is a great party host, and he knows a thing or two about Bitcoin. Anders, how are you today? From Europe right now. How is it over there?
Oh, it's good. Right now the sun is out, but it's also been raining. Actually, just a few days ago, I turned, I looked, it looked like there was snow, but it was because there was very heavy hail. So, I mean, and that's July in Denmark, so that was pretty wild. But yeah, it's good to be here. I enjoy spending summer in Denmark in general.
Is it more humid or less humid than Los Angeles?
Good question. Might be a little bit more humid here. It's definitely more wet in terms of rain. Like during summer, it'll still be plenty of rain.
Well, in Nashville, it's actually going to be, it's right now, it's like storming every third day while it's 98 degrees, 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And, you know, it's funny. It's a good, maybe that's a segue to your latest upcoming project. Maybe you'd like to tell us what you'll be doing in Nashville very soon.
Sure, thanks. And also, Rick, thanks for having me on. Now that you mentioned the weather, right? So I guess one of the things I do is Pleb parties in Bitcoin means Bitcoiners get together the day before the big conferences. I started organizing one in LA in 22, the day before Pacific Bitcoin. Then I did one in Miami last year, which was on a rooftop, which was super cool. And because that was a really good experience, I thought I was looking for something similar in Nashville until someone told me a long time ago last year that that Nashville is going to be hot and humid in summer. So you got to be indoor with AC. No more, no looking for rooftops. So it's indoor, yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a Pleb party, a Bitcoin Pleb party, Nashville, July 25. It's 12 hours with open bar and food. So there's plenty of time to, and you can come and go and to hang out with, you know, your favorite friends from Bitcoin X. I guess we call it X these days by now.
I'm still calling it Twitter. I'll always
still
call it Twitter.
I don't know. I'm kind of like moving to I'm probably like, I'm past 80-20. I'm like 30% X and 70% Twitter.
You can't say a tweet. You have to, I mean, you can't say an X. You have to say the action is tweet. Bitcoin Twitter sounds better than Bitcoin X. I don't know. But, you know, the Twitterverse versus the Xverse. I said that, you know. Anyways, continue.
All right. And by the way, you keep yourself on the screen. It's easy. Like when I talk, like it's
you have to see me, bro. This is your solo, man. That's your solo part.
Though, right, it like you may take it as a compliment, but actually it's not about you in this one. Like I know you're pretty. I get it, right? In Spanish, I think we call that bonito. I'm learning Spanish.
One of 3 or 4 ways. Yeah. Come on, man. Here's your feature. There you go. You can't handle that. Look at that.
No, it's like I can't. I don't want to look at myself when I talk. I'm talking to you. So what I'm saying is, even though like you're an amazing, handsome looking guy, like I like to look at the host that's interviewing me when I'm talking. I told Simply Bitcoin that as well. Like, guys, don't put me big screen. I don't. Yeah.
Too funny.
I don't know. It's just like a personal.
A hang up that you're going to have to get over, hopefully before this cycle is over.
What should I get over?
I said you should get over that hang up before this cycle is over. Come on, we're growing. It's a hang up. You don't know that term?
Here's where this is where the language barrier
gets a hang up is like, it makes me icky. It makes me cringe. It's like, it's not wrong. It's not inherently wrong, but it's my personal preference. And it's like,
yes,
really? You're gonna tell Joe Rogan that you don't want to be on solo screen.
Like, I don't know. Okay, so I get it. You like to stand in front of the mirror and talk for hours and look at yourself. But I can't do that. Like I can't. Like I need to see the person I'm talking to. Anyways,
right on. Hey, how about this? So you're a staple personality. Obviously, you know your personality. You can talk. You can have a dialogue. in the Bitcoin Twitterverse. How did that come about? How did you become Anders of Bitcoin Twitter?
Right. Well, just to finish off the Pleb party, I can't remember if I mentioned everything there, but it's the day before general conference. So it's July 25. It's the day that there's industry day, going from noon to midnight with an open bar throughout. There's going to be lunch, snacks, dinner, and you can come and go. Like, it's re-entry because it's 12 hours. And I know most of you Americans can't party for 12 hours, right? You need to go home and freshen up, no Viking style for you, Rick. I know you. But anyways, oh yeah, let me mention a couple of people going there. Larry Lepard, good friend of mine. You know Larry Lepard. James Lavish, Preston Pish, Natalie Brunel, Sam Callahan. The list goes on. I can't even remember. But so this is not a guarantee, but I introduced Sailor on main stage in Prague at BTC Prague, which was a huge honor and a lot of fun. And I asked him, first I said, thank you for coming to the Pleb party in Miami, where you showed up and hung out with the plebs. And then I asked him if he was speaking in Nashville, and he said yes. And I said, hey, I'm throwing another party if you want to come. And he said, sure. That being said, you don't know if he turns up, right? And then I said, so how can I get you the information? He said, DM me. Thing is, though, Sailor doesn't follow Anders, right? So I don't know if you'll ever see that. I am speaking to Eric Weiss, though, as well, the guy that orange pilled him. But anyways, I mean, he may or may not show up. I just know that at the Miami Pleb party where you were, and he showed up early, so people that were there early had a chance to actually, have a chat with Sailor, which was pretty cool. And that's, I think, kind of what I try to do, is bring in those people that people do like to speak with, that they know from, your favorite podcast or YouTube or whatever. And at the conference, it's impossible to get hold of these people when you're 20,000. But at a party, they're there to have a beer or drink, and you can better get a chat. Enough said. So people, and I think you have the link in your show notes, right? Otherwise, go on Google and search Pleb Party Nashville. It's right there with like 8 links in the first page or something like that. I don't know. It's there somewhere. Your question was how to come about Anders on Twitter. Well, first of all, I don't think I'm anything special on Twitter. How do you do that? You choose your handle and you start tweeting or posting, as we spoke about Bitcoin. And I guess I started some years back, and for a long time, like every day you're thinking like, all right, what could you say that would be good, that could be educational, or, how could you take something and like put it into a tweet and get a lot of like point across with few words. I think that's interesting on X, right? But honestly, probably 1.5 years ago, I had not, and that's probably a big mistake, been that focused on, thinking of, the next thing to say on Twitter. So it's become much more like it's like a place for DMs or with people, or reading the news or catching up. Why did Bitcoin crash today? That kind of thing. And just macro, get some macro news as well from some of the great people that you can follow. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, how to answer your question? I've just been tweeting for some years, I guess, about Twitter, about Bitcoin.
Right on. Well, so you with the toxic happy hour that you and Pub Lord Hodl have been known for, it became sort of like this center of Bitcoin discourse, if you will. A lot of popular Bitcoiners come there. A lot of no-name Bitcoiners come there, and you kind of let everyone on to give their spill, have their time to speak to everyone. You are a proponent of the social dynamic of Bitcoin Twitter. Now, from your experience, I mean, you have cultivated the Bitcoin Twitter spaces more than anyone that I've known, and at least for a whole cycle. Some people have come and gone, Log Scale, other people that were there and not. DJ Satoshi doesn't really do it anymore. How would you describe the social dynamic of Bitcoin Twitter? Is it actually is it sustainable collectively? And is it sustainable for the individual? Can people, can you really develop a good social interaction living in this essentially virtual world?
Yeah. So I think really, I guess I look at Bitcoin X as it's yeah, there we go again.
You're
It
teasing me.
has its sorry,
I said you're teasing me. Go ahead.
I am. um, it has its own life and it changes over time. And by the way, I'm not that much on spaces anymore because I've told Puppy that the first year of Toxic Happy Hour, we were on YouTube, where we had a bunch of really great guests. We had great conversations with them, a lot of education, a lot of signal, and a lot of fun. Like the whole concept where we were sitting in a bar, and this was just started during COVID, like a few months after the whole pandemic started, right? So my social life became uh, pretty much Bitcoin X and YouTube and like private Zooms with other Bitcoiners um and I told Puppy, yeah, I think that first year of Toxic Happy Hour where we were on YouTube, that was the golden year. I had a lot of fun with that. The chat was super lit and funny. Um, and and that was like once a week, maybe sometimes twice. But then like Puppy loves spaces. He loves hosting spaces. He's really good at it. And then that's every day at a time that is not super ideal for me. So I did it for, I don't know, close to 2 years, but I've told Puppy I'm the timing is not ideal for me. It's 11 a.m. it starts, right? So if I want to be productive, I got to get stuff done before 11 a.m. Once you do like 2.5 hours of spaces, afterwards you need a break. Then it's like late afternoon. Then you got to pick up productivity again. It just gets in the way of a productive day. And that's why also I have gone back to YouTube because I think YouTube was a lot of fun. So I've restarted the YouTube channel for the second time because Toxic Happy on YouTube was actually me restarting the YouTube channel for the first time. So and so back to your question, I guess, how Bitcoin X is, it changes every month, every year, every quarter, like what people do and how people use it and who you hang out with. And it has its own life. And I think, is it sustainable? You, you gotta, you can't get too caught up in it and get, upset, about the drama and all that, give what you want to give, listen to what you want to listen to. And I don't know, just to see that what I'm trying to say is like, be casual and natural about it, and it's just part of your social life. It's part of learning as well. Um, so it's just it's an extended part of your life, I guess.
Right on. And it's a part of your life. It's not your whole life, and that's something that we always need, no matter what we do, whether it's video games, whether it's gambling, whether it's friends in real life. It's a component, and it doesn't necessarily overwhelm you. Even Bitcoin, it cannot overwhelm you. Otherwise, when it goes down, theoretically, you could go down as well. And so you are multifaceted. You're working on multiple projects. Why don't you talk to the audience about other things that you're working on? You do the party, you have done the spaces in the past. What other projects does
Right.
Anders lead or own?
Yeah. Well, I think there's only well, I guess there's two. But yeah, so there's the Pleb parties where this one is the third one. Um that is a lot of fun. Biggest high in my life is throwing a successful party that people love. Like that is the best. Like I am higher than anyone on any drug in that situation. It's that's amazing. I love that. Love making people happy. And then yeah, I mean, Toxic Happy Hour, we started 4 years ago. First YouTube, then Spaces. Kind of stepping back from that. It's a lot, and the timing probably knows that. And so as you very well know, I became Christian last year. And that happened through my own personal experiences. And then in a conversation with you as we were driving back from Mammoth, I'm quite sure that you remember that. All Christians have a calling. They just don't necessarily, but most Christians don't know that they have a calling. But they're, God has a plan for you. And when I picked up on that, I'm like, okay, so what is my calling? Because I gotta do my job. And that took me until like the end of last year to figure that out. And that is to, that's big part of my motivation for restarting the YouTube again. Which I sent you a link to. I'm sure you have that in the show notes as well, is to educate the 2.3 billion. Obviously, I won't, be in front of 2.3 billion Christians, but do what I can to help educate as many as possible of the 2.3 billion Christians, explaining that using fiat currency enables on a daily basis a substantial breaking of the commandment, thou shalt not steal, because that is what it is. It's one giant stealing mechanism. It's thieving. It's the biggest piece of organized crime that has been legalized and is therefore operating, and people are brainwashed to think it's a good idea. So take it back. In short, I want to help Christians understand that they should not be saving up in fiat currency like the dollars, because even though they may not be the ones stealing, they are enabling others to steal from them, which is breaking, obviously, one of the commandments. And also, when you use a fiat currency like the dollar, euro, whatever, then you help the network effect, and you help that currency to be the one that that is accepted. If you stepped out of it, if you went on a Bitcoin standard, you would no longer be endorsing it. But when you endorse fiat currency by using it as a way to save money, you are enabling this grand theft, or theft on a grand scale, call it what you want. So I need to educate Christians to start saving their putting their savings into Bitcoin instead of fiat currency. I think it's a Christian, it's a must. Fiat saving up in the dollar is you're enabling evil, because that is the funding machine for all the endless wars, and all the initiatives from deep state, because that is the funding machine of deep state and World Economic Forum and all these things that many Christians call out. Well, if you're saving up in dollar, you are enabling that, because that's how it's funded. But Christians don't, I think, to a large extent, see that and understand that. But so that, I think that's part of my role, is I have to make that clear, if that makes sense. So I need, and yeah. So I see Bitcoin as God's money, and I need to help as many as possible Christians to understand that.
Right on. So let me give you a scenario. What about the Christians that are in regions, in regimes where either the internet is very hard to come by, or even Bitcoin is kind of disabled in being used? Of course, we know that a lot of people aren't necessarily in the state where they can save. So their whole usage of currency, or their whole usage of money, is the medium of use case, medium of exchange use case. And so now it's like you have these Christians, they hear your message, but then they're conflicted because I can't save $1 worth of monetary energy even in a whole day. And whatever I take in, it goes out very quickly. No one's taking Bitcoin. What's your answer to them?
Well, I guess it depends exactly which country are they in, but I think most people have access to the internet. Most people have. I mean, smartphones are getting cheaper and cheaper, right? I think if you go to some random third world country, they have some Android they're running around with or something, right? So, and then having a Lightning Network wallet, which is, what do you call it? The small payments, micro payments in Bitcoin, Satoshi's small pieces of Bitcoin. I think most people technically would have access to that, and Bitcoin is built in a way so even though if the regime doesn't want you to use Bitcoin, it's very easy to get around it and use it anyway. I think you can also, I think someone did something where you can actually pay through text message, like somehow that signs a payment, although I don't know the details of that. So
I guess what I'm saying is when we get to, let's just say, I mean, let's just take Los Angeles, but let's just say it's not as developed, and you leave your house and you go to, and you have the option to go to the grocery store, you have an option to go to the gas station, you have the option to go to I don't know what else, a place to buy clothes, and those three places, none of them happen to be Christian owned, and none of them hear your message, and they all say dollars only. That's just what I guess they hear your message and they're convicted, but then they also see the state that they're living in. What do you say to those people? What's their solution?
So for the people that, first and foremost, I would say it's important that you use it as your saving technology. I think some people are too focused and worried about it's not being used as medium of exchange yet. It's much more important functionality that you can use it to store your wealth, which is exactly what is would disable the theft that central banking is. But I get it if you don't. So my point is the fact that you can't pay with Bitcoin directly yet at the supermarket isn't, or the petrol gas station is not the problem. If people don't make enough to be able to save up, that's of course a problem. I think it's, was it like half the US population that lives paycheck to paycheck, so there's not a lot to save. Like that's a lot of people. But if you can put the nice thing about Lightning Network and on top of Bitcoin, the micropayments is you could, if it was just $1 a month, you could actually save that in Bitcoin on your smartphone, and then you would have to take it from there and step by step. And then I think once people see that, wait, I'm saving up in a money that last year this was $1, now it's $3. Now I'm being incentivized to actually, because my Bitcoin is built to become worth more. It's built to have a deflation effect, that it increases in value, where fiat currency straight up is built to lose value. And then they've brainwashed people to think, hey, it's good, we get to keep our jobs because everyone's spending their money. No, they're just stealing every day when they print more, and we ain't getting it. That's just another scam. So I think once people start seeing that wait, my money actually goes up in value, even if you start only with $1 a month or $5, but you see money now increases in value. So instead of spending everything you have, I think generally people around the world, we all now know that currency loses value. So we feel like I should spend it while I can still get the 12x, or get the shoes because I know they're going up in price, etc. I think just a small use, like as once people start using Bitcoin a little bit, and over 1-2 years, and they see what happens with the value of it, it'll change their incentive from being spenders to being savers, and then they will probably start cutting out some of that, the cafe latte, the junk food, the extra sneakers that could wait 1 year, etc. And then people will be lifted up instead of being pushed down. Fiat currency, central banking every day makes everyone a little bit poorer, where Bitcoin every day lifts up people a little bit. I understand that, of course, there's price price swings in Bitcoin, but if you're looking over time, average. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it is interesting when people observe Bitcoin for an elongated period of time, they realize that the value according to everything that they see. Jeff Booth says that all prices go down according to Bitcoin. And like you described the deflationary effect. It incentivizes new decision making. You see, it's looks like it's not going away anytime soon. Should I buy this video game? Should I buy Bitcoin? Should I buy these shoes? Should I buy Bitcoin? Should I buy that Starbucks, or should I just keep my money and then buy 10 Starbucks in 10 years? And that's a crazy use case right there. 10 Starbucks in 10 years, or one Starbucks now, but with the same amount of money. But blow that up to anything, blow that up to shoes, blow that up to a car, blow that up to anything you could think of. It incentivizes savings. Fiat incentivizes spending, because we all know, even if we're not taught it outright, we can just feel that if I don't buy this now, it's going to cost me more later. And what it all boils down to is time. When you work, when you spend your time, you're compensated with something, and normally it's some sort of money. And what's the value of that money now versus the value of that money later? Bitcoin maintains its value generally, or increases, because of, as people are discovering it through adoption, as the comparable units are being debased by monetary expansion. So I want to talk to you about that. We know that.
Can I add one thing?
Oh yeah.
I want to add one thing to what you said. I mean, I agree with the whole, the cafe latte, the Starbucks, whatever. So one thing I've been talking about for a while is that you could buy a car today, or if you buy Bitcoin instead, that Bitcoin, you wait a few years with a car, you can now buy a car every 3 years for the rest of your life and still have more money left. That's the power of delayed gratification when it comes to Bitcoin and how it goes up in value, right? You can get one today, or you can get one every 3rd year for the rest of your life, and you'll still have money left because Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And the same with the Starbucks, right? You can get a Starbucks now, or if you wait 1 year, you can get a Starbucks for the rest of your life every year. And now, obviously, one a year is not enough, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. That the length at which Bitcoin can go as you wait, essentially exponentially grows generally. And so we want to talk about that a little bit, because the idea that Bitcoin will go, a lot of people propagate or propose that Bitcoin will go from 1 to a million really, really, really fast. We've been hearing it for years, and it's just not happening, and we understand that Bitcoin is increasing its value, but slowly but surely, and that it's not going to happen when what person A says it's going to happen, or when person B says it's going to happen. And a lot of times those people encourage or put out these messages not in a way that's cautious, in a way that's, with the game theory, it's like, if I say this, people will listen to me because it makes them feel good, and I will grow in stature. And if it doesn't happen, chances are people will be upset for a moment, but after time, they'll forget that I told them that in the first place. And so a lot of people call that a form of hopium, and they call those people hopium dealers. But of course, we also have bullishness, where it's like, we believe in the asset, and our actions dictate that we believe in it by converting our fiat to Bitcoin, by talking about Bitcoin, by sharing it with others, by saying, hey, this is the answer to a lot of the world's problems. I want you to talk to me about your perspective on what hopium is and hopium dealers, and compare that to being bullish.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, to be honest, I don't really think pay too much attention to hopium dealers. Like everything I say, I think probably is bullish on Bitcoin, but it's based on my conviction and the time I spent trying to understand what money is, what Bitcoin is. And when you understand what money is and what Bitcoin is, you realize it's the best money we've ever had. And it's very hard not to be bullish. So I don't, watch YouTube videos that I click on because, it's giant green arrow and hopium. And I guess my mind is kind of only focused on what I believe, truth seeking, in terms of we have very good reasons to be bullish. We have good reasons to believe that Bitcoin is going a lot higher. Obviously, clearly, it's built to go up in terms of dollars because dollars is built to keep printing, and Bitcoin has 100% hard cap. We've never seen that before with any commodity. 100% hard capped. So yeah, that's it. I guess hopium is clickbait, and bullishness is like based on sound arguments for why we're going higher. I don't know. Does that answer?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Do you think that there is and of course, we do see those clickbaits, for those traders with on YouTube, the green arrows, maybe the guy doing this. Do you think that there's hopium dealers in Bitcoin Twitter? Do you think that there are people out there that purport themselves as the sound money virtue people, but at the same time they're kind of delivering a message that says the same thing as those clickbait YouTube things? You're going to
Right.
100x, you're going to 50x. It's going to happen any day now. It's going to happen like 1 million in 3 months. I guarantee it. I could
Yeah.
say a few names, but I mean, I don't need to put any particular people on blast. But do you notice that at all?
I honestly have not thought too much about that. Maybe I don't follow them, or
Mhm.
maybe I'm just so always super optimistic that I don't see any problem with any, bullish expectation. I mean, yeah, I guess we weren't hitting $1 million this year, at least by having. But if you recall that, uh, but I don't really. I can't point to some and say, hey, there's just clickbait hopium dealers. Like I don't think I follow them. I don't know.
Right on.
Um, my mind is on like all the real arguments for what's happening in the world and why that is putting Bitcoin, uh, to infinity in the end. So how are we going to get there? When are we going to get there? That I think that's really, really interesting. I've always found the anatomy of the Bitcoin bull run extremely interesting, and the 4-year cycle is intact, and I believe we're going above $250,000 per Bitcoin by the end of next year, probably Q4 next year. Are we going to get a bear market in 2026? Well, if we are, it's going to be just still intact. This cycle's still intact. Probably going to happen. Not financial advice, but it's clockwork until now.
That's right. And we are in what we consider the bull part of the cycle right now. We're in the very, if you've seen the recent memes, 3 green, 1 red. We're in one of the green years.
Yeah.
But at the time of this recording, we're experiencing a small setback. I think we were as high as excuse me, we were as high as 74,000 in March, and now that we're at the beginning of July, we've gone down to 58,000. What are your thoughts on this recent drawdown? Where is it coming from? Why is it happening? And from your perspective, how long do you think it's going to last?
Um, yeah, it's a good question. I heard different explanations for this. I think one likely cause of this sideways downwards action, which it has been like, I think it was end of February, we were higher than we are now. And so it's now for what, 4.5 months or something. We've basically been sideways and downwards. And I think one of the likely reasons is that some miners are capitulating. Why are they? Well, we had the halving around the 20th of April. And those miners now only getting half the reward that they did before. Each time a block is found is 3.25 instead of 6.5. No, it's less. It was 625. Now it's 3,125. Anyways, the reward is cut in half, and that means some of them are starting to struggle financially because the payment is only half. Then what happens is, to survive and pay their bills, they are forced now to sell of their Bitcoin balance sheet, which then puts supply on the market until they don't have any more. And after each halving, there are miners that are going to end up just going out of business because they don't have low enough cost, in particularly electricity, to sustain their mining at a profitable rate. So they're selling the Bitcoin, and then they don't have any in the end. So it's like a minor capitulation we have to get through, and then the stronger they survive and they start getting more profitable, like the big miners, like Marathon, Riot, others. I guess Hot 8, Clean Spark is one, I guess. And then there's the private ones, there's big private miners we just don't know about, I think. So how long is it going to last? All I can say is that looking back at the previous cycles, 4-year cycles, the halving is removing half the supply. The price of everything is determined strictly by supply and demand. So when you remove half of the fresh supply, it has an impact. What has happened in the previous cycles is that around 6 months after the halving, the bull run starts to get steeper. I'm not saying we're going to wait until October until we start going up from here, but historically, that's where we're going to get steeper upwards price movement. I don't know how long we're going to be here, but I'm ready to change that whole 58K gang to 158K gang. Let's just add 100,000 to this price. It's getting boring.
We may have to tag the 58K gang in this podcast today.
We got to get hold of Denise and say, hey, bro, let's change the narrative here. Can we do 158 now, please?
He'll probably give you a big fat no. What about the Mt.Gox repayments? Are you scared of that? Are you scared of that at all?
I'm not scared of it, but I think it's a very legit argument that if you've been sitting with, the people buying Bitcoin back in 2012, they didn't stack sats. Like, they stacked Bitcoin. Like, they bought multiple Bitcoin, right? Because it was just cheaper back then. And if they've been forced to sit and hodl on that and live frugally because they have all these Bitcoin they couldn't touch, they will probably want to pay off their credit card by now, maybe get a car, maybe down pay a house. So I think that will, sure, it's going to put some supply onto the market, and that will, I don't know if this has already been predicted by the price now and then that's it, or if we're going to go lower, who knows. But what's sure is that supply is going to be gobbled up by the market. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of time before we cross 100,000. It's a matter of time before we cross 250,000. We just don't know, is it going to be this cycle or the next? But I'm bullish, and I think we're going above a quarter at the end of next year.
Let's put you through a scenario. Let's just say that you had all your Bitcoin, or a good 95% of your Bitcoin. You may have bought some later, but 95% of your Bitcoin is out on Mt.Gox. You have 300 Bitcoin on Mt.Gox. Okay. Woo. And
can we make that happen? Okay. Anyway, so let's say that's happening. Let's say that's
and
the case.
You're getting your payment back, and you're getting, and guess what? Let's just say, hey, hey, we can only give you so much now and we'll give you another set in like 4 years. I don't know if this is the case. I'm just giving you, hey, this is your scenario. You're getting 250 now. You're getting 50 more in 4 years. You know what Bitcoin has done. You know when you're getting another 50. What do you do with that 250? Just you, and let's just say you don't have any Bitcoin now. Maybe let's just say you have one Bitcoin. Let's just say you have one Bitcoin. So you've been a Bitcoiner, but now you're getting your 300. How much of that are you converting to not even fiat? You're converting into capital, to real goods.
Man, that's a hard question, because it's not a position I'm in. I don't know what would I do. I can't tell you, because I'm unfortunately not in that position that I have a windfall of early Bitcoin from low prices.
Right.
I can only speculate that the people that have been forced hodlers will put some of that on the market, because in their mind, they're now multimillionaires,
right,
but they haven't had access to it. So they probably want to
playing catch up a little.
Sorry?
Playing catch up a little. They got some things. They got a shopping list that they've been holding on to.
I think so. I think some of them are going to see the market. But at the same time, you've also been forced to have 11 years of education, seeing that the price is going higher. It just always is. Nothing goes up in a straight line, but if something goes up, it's Bitcoin over time, right? So, but who knows? But if you have 300, you probably get something, right, for yourself.
Yeah, but that, and that's something that I've noticed, that people are fearful of Mt.Gox. It's 148,000 Bitcoin. And the catch about Mt.Gox is that 148,000 Bitcoin is not an egregious amount of Bitcoin for our current day market. It may be a lot for maybe 2015, 2014, but Bitcoin is is now at $1.5 trillion in total market cap worldwide. And the people that have been sitting on that, like you said, they've had 11 years of education. They're going to look at that and they're going to say, I may want my Ferrari, but I may want my house, but I want that multi-generational wealth as well. There's a value proposition to having the strongest asset in the world. So I do think that even if people were to say drop half of it and just become fiat wealthy, they won't. Maybe 25%. And we're talking about, if you had 15 Bitcoin on there, you may say, hey, yeah, I can see myself dropping 3 or 4 or 5 to kind of be more comfortable. But the value proposition of seeing things out for a little while longer. If you can wait 11 years, you may be able to wait 13. If you can wait 11 years, you may be able to wait 15. So those are the kind of things that, I think about. Of course, how old are these people? If you're 60, you may want to spend a little more. If you're 40, you may want to spend a little less.
Yeah.
It's everyone's situation is different.
I would say, like you, I'm not scared about it all or worried about it. Like I'm not worried. I stopped worrying about any like threats to Bitcoin a long time ago, because I think I figured out that there are really no credible threats. And even if there's going to be a supply side coming from Mt.Gox, great, let's get it over with. That means when it's done, it's behind us, it's not in front of us.
Can't happen multiple times. Just like when Elon dropped Tesla, he can't sell it again. People are like, Elon's dropped Tesla. Elon sold Bitcoin. I'm like, I said, great. That's 20,000 Bitcoin that he can't sell anymore. Think about that. People like, what? It breaks their mental, because Bitcoin is hard capped. There's no inflationary aspect. There's no endless shorting. You can only short it so much. That's why shorts get wrecked. And then you see these, where that price pump go? It's the futures market that mispredicted where Bitcoin is going, and someone got wrecked. You shouldn't want to be that one person. Don't short Bitcoin.
Oh no. And let's also just remember that Michael Saylor stacked more Bitcoin in his company, MicroStrategy, than like 30-40% more than what Mt.Gox is in total. If you say it's 148,000, I mean, in perspective, it's the market is going to gobble it up
easily.
Yeah.
Easily. Let's switch back to some Christian topics.
Sure.
And one that I think has always drawn me in, I think probably what drew me in initially, is the low time preference dynamic of Bitcoin. The idea that, you know, saving is a virtue, and it's a virtue that's essentially rewarded. And in the Christian religion and the Christian faith, if you hold off on instant gratification, which is from the devil, if you hold off on pleasing the flesh and focusing on the spirit, all understanding that both are there, and they both need to be, they both have their pluses and minuses. The spirit can sin just like the flesh can sin, just like the flesh can do good as the spirit can do good. The low time preference dynamic. Talk to me about the low time preference, your perspective on low time preference and how the intersection happens with Bitcoin and Christianity.
Wow, that's deep. Let me first say that I've always been a long-term thinker, like low time preference, a person. Like from when I was a kid, I'm like, how am I going to set myself up for, you know, for the best possible retirement? Like that,
Yep.
I was thinking about that when I was a kid. I didn't want to, like, you know, no, because to me, and I guess that's always been the case, is the most valuable thing you can buy for money, you can buy for Bitcoin, is your freedom. So that's low time preference. I'll say what actually opened my mind to Jesus, to Christianity, was the amount of smart, rational Bitcoiners that were Christian, like yourself, where I saw so many people that I'm like, these guys are really smart, but they believe in Jesus, they believe in God and the Bible. Where I, as before, a non-Christian, was a bit of a conundrum for me. But then that opened my mind that maybe I was wrong. And that's why I came to that conclusion through the experiences I've had with you know, the spiritual world, and it's like it's the only explanation the way I see it. Back to your question, which is tricky. You mean the low time preference of Bitcoiners and Christians? I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, you know, I guess do you have a certain view that either that low time preference dynamic lends itself well to easy convertibility to being a Christian, then a Bitcoiner, or a Bitcoiner and then being a Christian? Do you notice low time preference nuances in the Bible that you can draw parallels to in relationship to how you understand what being a Bitcoiner is about? Whether, of course, saving money, saving your soul, saving your mental or philosophical disposition despite the world attacking. Like, what are some of the things that you notice that can be applied to Christianity and Bitcoin from a, hey, don't worry about now, tomorrow is going to be a little better, or don't worry about now, 100 years from now is going to be better? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you kind of explained it well, because the one thing Bitcoin and Christianity have in common is low time preference and delay now, do the right thing, and then you're rewarded in the future. That's a common theme, right? Both for Christianity, you know, don't sin, although we're all sinners. Only Jesus lived a sinful life, and he paid the maximum price because we're sinners, so we get access. But Christianity teaches us to not do what feels good now, but to do the right thing, and you will be rewarded long term. And the same with Bitcoin, and that's why it's, I guess, part of, it fits so well as God's money, because delay gratification, instead of going for the quick fish, not the fish, not the quick fish, the quick fix, the instant endorphin, the spend money now, delay it to the future, and you will be rewarded by multiples. Like one Bitcoin can buy, is $58,000 now. One day it'll be $58 million. So if you can delay it, you will have a lot more. You will be rewarded. You'll have not only your own freedom, you'll have your kids' freedoms, your grandchildren's freedom, etc. Oh, they'll probably even erect a statue of you, Ulrich. So, but I think, yeah, they have that in common, right? Those two, Christianity and Bitcoin, sound money, hard money.
What do you think is holding back, you know, learned Christians, people that understand the Bible? What is holding them back from recognizing the legitimacy of what Bitcoin is, and even the thing that you were talking about, the theft use case of fiat? What's keeping Christians back from saying, "Oh yeah, obviously this is right"? Why don't they see what you saw so clearly, or what I saw so clearly?
I was going to add you to that as well, because you clearly do as well. Well, from my experience, Christians can be very hard to change their perception of anything. They're often, not always, set in their mind. So it can be hard. Even, have a good friend where it's kind of all, retirement is in fiat, bonds, cash, etc. He understands the World Economic Forum and the globalists are the enemies. Kind of also see that that fiat currency is what funds these, in my opinion, satanic scum. Definitely evil, be it evil human nature, or the devil. So they can be set in their mind. Another thing is, there is a lot of Christians, just like non-Christians, in their world, that listen to mass media and believe that the politicians and the central bankers and the bankers and the media has our best interest, which they don't, but people believe that because they're told. But the same people that control the money printer and control the politicians also control the media. It's so painstakingly obvious if you narrow it down to, if people blindly actually accept that printing more money and destroying the value of their savings, if they believe that because they are told, I mean, if all media says that, which is painstakingly obviously wrong, then it's all controlled. So I would say those are the two things that make it sometimes, not always, a challenge to change the mind of a Christian. A, they're conservative. B, they listen to the propaganda. They have another Christian friend, where I say Bitcoin is God's money, and I explain it, and all he does is recite whatever propaganda the media said. Oh, it's also the drug lords' money. Even if you enter into an explanation, a discussion about why Bitcoin is better money, all I get back is a recitation of the false narrative, the propaganda, the anti-Bitcoin propaganda of like drugs, money laundering. I mean, all of this. So, naivety of believing in mass media and just being conservative. I think that's the uphill battle. That's the challenge that we have as Christians wanting to orange pill other Christians.
I've noticed something that when it comes down to I pay attention to the narratives that certain demographics put forth when it comes down to Bitcoin. And I have noticed that people that have a Christian background, they have said that to me before. The drug lord, the money launderer, and it's funny because when you look at the main FUD attacks on Bitcoin, the drug lord FUD was sort of in the 2016 dynamic. When you look at the Bitcoin is bad for the environment, that's sort of the 2021 dynamic or time frame. And so, but those narratives have essentially been crushed already. But it's funny, the people who are using them, I feel like Christians are still essentially 8 years behind getting over that FUD because they're rehearsing things that have been talked about, 8, 9 years ago. And I feel like I feel like in 2026, what you'll probably end up hearing is Christians are going to say it's bad for the environment. It's like, oh, we would, but it's like the government's going to ban it because it's bad for the environment. Whereas most of the liberals were saying that in 2021. So it's sad to say that liberals probably are a little bit more contemporary than Christians. They have their ear to what's happening in the world now than Christians. But I think it's sad to think that all the FUD arguments, unless there's another one coming up, which I can't figure out which one, but the FUD arguments, essentially, I could see Christians being into adopting Bitcoin probably around like mass adopting Bitcoin, probably around the 2027 timeframe, where they're like all these narratives are now crushed and now they're ready to kind of get into it in mass. Whereas maybe and I think that's why you see a lot of I guess progressives. I've noticed a lot of progressives, like they're progressive Bitcoin podcasts. Now we're in 2024, almost 2025. Now that the anti-environment thing has been crushed, a lot of those people say, oh, I guess I can get into it now because it's not killing trees. I'm like, okay. So it's have you noticed that? I mean, there is a lot of left wing, a lot of progressive Bitcoiners now. And it's just funny how Bitcoin just over time, these narratives crush and you have this wave of adoption. Like, I mean, athletes, it's like finance people. What are your thoughts on that? Do you notice that as well? Or am I just like prognosizing too much?
No, I think you're right that people are still living in old thought, like one cycle old thought being fear, uncertainty, and doubt. For those who haven't heard that before, the negative propaganda or fear. No, I think you're right. I mean, that matches what I'm hearing when I speak to some people. I hear some of these old cycle arguments against Bitcoin. I'm like, just trying to help you, man. Just trying to help you. I'm trying to do the right thing by God here by not financing the devil by holding fiat. Like, listen to me. Listen, open your eyes and stop just believing everything the media tells you. Like, oh, I have been in finance for 40 years. There's been plenty of people in finance for 40 years that are not smart. Like, it's not about how long you've dealt with it. It's argument, you got to use critical thinking,
There have been finance people who've been in finance for 40 years, like Lawrence Lepard, who's obviously head over heels into Bitcoin. Maybe if you don't want to listen to Anders, maybe listen to Lawrence, hear what he has to say. Are you going to shoot him down because he's been in just as long as you? It's just like the regardedness of I've been here for decades. I'm like, that doesn't matter. It's crazy.
Yeah. I have a friend, him. I guess I shouldn't get into who, whatever. It doesn't matter. But he's from Sweden. And I was, arguing, explaining, spending, a lot of time. Like, you got to get some Bitcoin. And he got a little bit of exposure, I believe, and got him on board, right? And then he went to the Bitcoin conference in Miami last year, where you met him. So that was 23, and he went to see Saylor speak. I got him on board. Like he got in, and then afterwards he was like, "Yeah, Saylor got me into Bitcoin." I'm like, "What did I spend the last 4 years doing, brother? I put you in front of Saylor. I gave you that ticket."
Sometimes
Whatever.
sometimes the actual profit will not truly be recognized, but it's the battle. It's like, or it's not even the battle, it's the outcome that matters. The outcome, no matter how he's there, whoever he gives thanks to, we should just be happy we saved one more person from that fiat burning house.
Absolutely.
And Anders, it's been pretty much an hour, and I just want to thank you for coming on the show. Let's rehearse where people can find you, and let's rehearse what you're doing in Nashville, and then we can call it an episode.
Right. And thank you so much for having me, Ulrich. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, but I'll see you in Nashville. I'll be there on the Monday.
It's almost here.
So when do you arrive in Nashville?
I come in on Tuesday.
Club's going up on a Tuesday.
I'm gonna zoom into you because I want to troll. You go ahead and talk to the audience.
Fair enough. All right. So what am I up to? The Pleb party in Nashville, July 25, which is the Thursday. Ulrich is gonna come in on the Tuesday, and he's gonna be there at the Pleb party. That's 12 hours, noon to midnight. All you can drink, open bar, and food. So that's taken care of. Re-entry. That's that. Nice trolling, Ulrich. You're doing a good job. I can't stand looking at myself in the mirror here.
Close your eyes.
Wait, what was the other question?
What are you doing?
Yeah, where can they find me? Okay, where can they find me? So at Anders _ is my X handle, Ulrich X, right? I think you have two links down below, hopefully, if I send them to you. One is to the Eventbrite site where you can buy a ticket for the Pleb party. And the other one is for my YouTube channel. That is my calling of educating Christians about Bitcoin. I was supposed to do a whole lot more streaming on that, but the Nashville thing, the Pleb party, is taking a lot of processing power. I am a one-man show, basically doing the second largest Bitcoin-only event in North America, and so it's taken some bandwidth doing that, but it's fun, and I can't wait for the party.
Thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure, dude.
Likewise.
Okay. So that was Anders. As you can see, one of my best friends. We had a great time on this show talking about all different things important to us: money, our faith, having a good time with friends. You in Nashville, hopefully 2 weeks from now. Make sure you come out and check it out. Say hi to Anders. Say hi to me. It's going to be a great time. I'm Sir Ulrich, like my father before me. Tune in next week when we bring on another brilliant Bitcoin guest.